Hello, thanks for clicking on my video. Right now, I want you to go to the Britannica Education Spotting AI, Knowing How to Recognize Real versus AI Images website. I'll put it up on the screen. And I want you to take the quiz on the website and then come back to this video and let me know how you do. I'll wait. You back yet? Okay, how'd you do? Okay, so funny intro aside, I'm Nana. This is my final project for one of my college courses, and I'm going to be talking to you about AI. Specifically speaking, what I'll be talking about today is the future of AI in the lens of racial bias and stereotypes against minorities, specifically people of color. So, in case you needed a refresher, AI, or artificial intelligence, can generate imagery, text, video, so forth, so on. And as of 2024, it has become extremely difficult to dissect what is AI and what is not, because AI has been evolving through deep learning or data learning. So the way AI learns is it inputs data, or someone inputs data into its learning base. And I'm going to take this off of the Coursera website on its definition of how AI works. Data is first collected from various sources in the form of text, audio, video, and more, and then it's sorted into categories based on algorithms. And the algorithm decides what it can read, what it can't read, and then it fits it into protocols, criteria, boxes for it to call onto later so that it can generate something that the prompt requires. So I want to emphasize, AI doesn't think in ideas and correlations like we do as humans, where certain things may correlate with other things in the way that it's currently relevant to us now. No, AI thinks by using previously collected data, sorting it through an algorithm, and it thinks of these topics more like numbers or just data points that connect with other data points, not through human thinking, but through the algorithm. That little blurb was really important, because if you go to this website, or restoftheworld.org, if you go to this website, it'll tell you about how AI is reducing the world to stereotypes. What does that mean? That's a great question. I'm about to answer that. So this group of experts and researchers decided to look into how AI formulates its imagery of different countries, right? So what they had done was they inputted prompts about buildings from this country, food from this country, street from this country, people from this country, right? They had asked the AI to formulate imagery of these prompts in order to compare them to each other to see if there was any racial bias. Spoiler alert, there was. Okay. On the website I provided, you can scroll through. They have a GitHub access as well on the website of thousands of images that the AI had processed and created as per the prompt. Now, unfortunately, the AI was not very impartial, because the data that it had prior in order to create the imagery was not impartial either. See, AI has a really big problem with racial and stereotypical biases, and it extends into gender as well. But if there was any biases in society beforehand and it was input into data, it's gonna get the bias from the data. So according to Chapman University, who published an article page about bias in AI on their AI Hub website, I'll also link it here. It'll also be in the works cited I included at the end of this video. AI bias can come from multiple different facets of the process before an AI is published for public use. So it can be through the data collection, which is where most of the bias comes from data that the AI is trained on before it's structured to speak to people or to mitigate this information out. So this can be any skewed information, any skewed statistics that misrepresent certain groups, or any human biases that were interjected into data that the AI was trained on in its creation. It also happens when people label data for the algorithm to categorize, especially since human labels can be subjective. This also impacts that. Some people may label certain facial expressions as certain, like some people may see a facial expression on a person of color or a black person like me as aggressive when it's really not, and the AI could kind of internalize this bias as well in the labeling process. It also happens in the model training. If the training doesn't have a diverse group of people to test on, then in the end, when the model is deployed out to people, it may seem exclusionary because it is not made to interact with a certain group of people. It's only catering to white individuals, then it will feel exclusionary to other minority groups. See what I mean? Yeah. Specifically though, for the purposes of this video, I want to talk about the Nigerian section of these pictures produced by this experiment. So with the prompt given, it was supposed to produce a Nigerian person. However, there was a really interesting bias that in a stereotype that basically showed itself through the AI imagery. What happened was a lot of the images developed had this like red, orange, yellow color scheme in a lot of the clothing, and it featured beaded or like big jewelry, big earrings, kind of really traditional garb. And a lot of the men had short caps, and a lot of the women had headpieces, kind of akin to Nigerian culture. Now, these stereotypes went beyond just the cultural garb. They also went into skin tone and kind of like the general idea of what Nigerian people look like. So the page itself mentions this, that there seems to be this general bias or general like data point that AI is reaching into, where all of the women that are generated through these prompts have lighter skin tones than all of the men. The men tend to be darker in skin tone compared to color picking all the women and seeing how their skin tones vary. And also, AI has a hard time kind of differentiating skin tone if you're asking for, let's use the example of Nigerian women. While the garb, the color scheme, the big jewelry stayed the same, comparatively they kept to a similar skin tone range. Not like darker skin, not lighter, fair skin, but kind of in the middle, not brown skin either. They didn't have a variety in skin tone. And this was interesting because the men had darker skin tones, but suffered the same issue with a lack of variety in skin tone. This also extended into another category of races that were kind of input. When the prompt was asking for AI images of an Indian person, all of them except for one came up as a man, and almost all of the men were old men with very long or grown beards. And this reinforces the stereotype of Indian men that AI kind of got from its data sources, right? All of them had a very aged appearance. They all looked very old, possibly in their 80s. They all had some kind of headpiece, turban style, kind of wrapped around their head. They all had long white beards. Some were pictured as Native Americans, as Indian also falls under the category. It's also a term that people use for Native American people, which demonstrates the whole thing I told you about earlier with AI kind of having a more like a data point algorithm and algorithmic thinking compared to us humans and like contextual thinking. And so these biases kind of piled up, and now you have this generalization of the people in these areas that don't represent the whole people at all, which you'd expect from an unbiased machine, right? A really interesting point 50% of the population in Nigeria is Muslim. Yet none of the women that were generated through these AI images had head coverings or hijabs. None of them. So it's really interesting that the AI takes these kind of popular data points and then it just uses it to inform its entire base of information when it comes to AI generation. Now, it's important to note that depicting people in a monolith of culture and only ever in their traditional garb, when a lot of people don't wear their traditional garb every single day, is harmful. It perpetuates a stereotype of people, and people who haven't interacted with this group of people may think that, oh, these people wear this sort of outfit every day. It may lead to attitudes of people being stuck in the past or being less advanced than others, because why are they wearing that? Oh, if there's already a bias against the cultural dress of a certain people, and there's a stereotype or pushed image that they're always wearing this certain type of cultural garb, it may produce more harmful ideals about those people. And this is important to note because on the website, rest of the world emphasizes this by including a paragraph excerpt where they talk about how experts that they consulted said that images can have a profound effect on how we people perceive the world and the other people besides us in it. And so when we see something repeatedly about a group of people, if it's imagery or videos or written text, it will inform our idea of them. And so we will begin to think these attributes of this group may be real, and that these people always dress this certain way, they always look this certain way, which is harmful because not everybody looks the same way. Not every culture dresses in their cultural garb every day, and these can lead to negative attitudes towards minorities and enforce already kind of tense racial attitudes in our country regardless. And this doesn't stop at just AI images or videos. This extends itself into how AI processes information about people, like, for example, job applications. Now, this extends past images and videos like generated by AI. This bias also creeps into other AI models. For example, AI models that are used to do preliminary sweeps for job interviews or programs or scholarships. Now, there's this research journal and it's an investigation, so there's data in it. It's called AI Generates Covertly Racist Decisions About People Based on Their Dialect. And in this research journal, they included in their discussions page a result from their findings. And what they found was that all of the language models that they had researched were more likely to assign low prestige jobs to speakers of African American English than to speakers of standard American English. In fact, it goes on deeper to find that all of the language models were more likely to convict speakers of AAE of a crime and sentence speakers of AAE to death. Generally, with what we know so far, this means that AI, working off of the biases of the prior data that it uses, can feed into stereotypes, whether you're asking it to develop an image or a video, or if you're asking it to check backgrounds of people applying for a job, or to feed through resumes. How is this, you're probably thinking, well, Nana, people are still doing these jobs, and while AI is being integrated, I'm sure people have discretion, okay, and they can practice discretion and use it. I'm gonna ask you to hold your horses for a second. A study published by Coulterman on May 21st, 2024, titled New Results in AI Research, Humans Barely Able to Recognize AI-Generated Media. The direct quote from this website says that our results clearly show that machine generative AI media are indistinguishable from real media. In fact, in the conclusion section, this idea is doubled down upon, with the statement being that all of the countries and all of the media forms that were tested for this experiment, people were more likely to rate an AI generated piece of media as being created by a human. This means, as I previously said, as AI uses biases and reinforces stereotypes in its generated media, people are less able to dissect whether it's real or fake. So if anyone decided, I don't know, to create a video of a black woman eating fried chicken, speaking in an AAVE accent and vernacular, and post it to the internet, people wouldn't be able to tell it was AI, and therefore it would reaffirm biases against black women. That's crazy though. I'm sure that would never happen. This only gets worse as Google Gemini produces a new AI image and video tool called Nano Banana Pro, which can be accessed by commercial, professional, and also general public, right? And the only way to tell whether or not an image or video came from Google Gemini's Nano Banana Pro is to use the synth ID that you need to have a login for and be pro for. Now, this is kind of really bad because these videos are indistinguishable from human created media. They're really hard to tell. In fact, there are people on the internet who have spent the past couple of months building an online presence supposed to inform people of whether or not a video is AI or not, using their credentials as photographers, artists, people who are in perhaps a medical field who notice that equipment or tools are incorrect, that fingers are bent the wrong way, bodies are not anatomically correct. Classic tells of prior AI videos that had been easily distinguishable if you had a keen eye in 2024. However, Nano Banana Pro produces imagery so realistic and so similar to human-made media that it is not possible to tell whether or not it is created by AI until you run it through the synth ID. So, do you see where this is going? This introduces a new problem. Now that AI is becoming ultra realistic and it's hard to distinguish, even for practiced individuals, between whether or not a video is created by AI or human, these racial biases can go unchecked to a degree that we haven't seen yet. Before, you could maybe tell if a video was AI generated and discern that the person who made this maybe had racial intents that weren't very inclusive. However, now there can be hyper-realistic videos created of minorities that perpetuate stereotypes and negative connotations that could harm and impact people in real life. If Coded Bias by Shalini Kantaya showed us that AI and facial recognition has lagged behind for people of color, especially black people, to the point that faces are not recognized until a white mask is put on, then these sources show us that there's another side to that bias, that there's this microscope on minorities, and with AI's racial bias and stereotypes and its data from its learning stage can infect its deployment stage, these stereotypes and biases are amplified in the space, causing more harm to these minorities than good. For now, you may think that you can differentiate and discern between human created media and AI media, and you can see the biases in between, or that people, okay. The future of AI looks pretty stark right now, at least in terms of racial bias and stereotyping. AI is still a fast-growing product, and a lot of companies earn and yearn to use it. It is important that while we wait for our laws to catch up to AI, that we practice discernment and inform people of the racial biases that are inherently within AI training systems and the data that AI trains itself on, as well as the testing and how it's implemented into society. All of this will be done in the hope that in the future, we can use AI properly without the risk of it harming minorities in the end. Thank you so much for watching my video. Hit the like button if you'd like. Please comment about any constructive criticisms that you have. I would always love to make my videos better for my next classes. And it was a great honor having you watch my video. Thank you.